Okay, listen. Some breast cancer survivors are having literally dozens of hot flashes a day, all while just trying to stay on their life-saving medication. And honestly, it completely wrecks your sleep and it wrecks your quality of life. I'm so glad you're here for this explainer because today we are looking at brand new data from the New England Journal of Medicine. It's about a highly anticipated, completely non-hormonal treatment for those severe hot flashes caused by breast cancer therapies. This is a conversation about reclaiming your life. So let's just get right into it. If endocrine therapy has left you feeling exhausted, constantly sweaty, severely sleep deprived, and just emotionally drained, I need you to know you are absolutely not alone. So many women reach a breaking point where they literally say, I survived cancer, but I cannot keep living like this. Adjuvant therapies, things like tamoxifen or aromatase inhibitors, they are incredible. They drastically reduce the recurrence of hormone receptor-positive breast cancers. But the side effects? Yeah, they can be absolutely relentless. I really need to say this loud and clear. You are not alone, and it is not just in your head. These hot flashes are incredibly real. In fact, so many women find themselves right on the verge of quitting their life-saving medication because the day-to-day reality is just too grueling. You might be terrified to stop treatment, but at the exact same time, you don't know how much more you can physically take. And that is a completely valid feeling. Because let's be real, cancer treatment is already hard enough. So let's ask the question every single patient has Googled at 3 a.m. while aggressively throwing off the bed sheets. Why? Why does my life-saving medication make me feel so miserable? Well, to understand how we can fix it, we first have to understand the actual biology. We need to look at why these specific hot flashes are so much more severe than what you'd experience in typical natural menopause. It actually all comes down to your brain, specifically a tiny region called the hypothalamus. Your brain basically has a thermostat, and its entire job is just to keep your core body temperatures stable. But your breast cancer medications are specifically designed to intentionally lower your estrogen to starve cancer cells. And when estrogen drops that fast, your internal thermostat gets completely thrown out of whack. Inside that thermostat are these things called K and D neurons. I know, it sounds like heavy medical jargon, but just think of K and D neurons as tiny temperature control messengers in your brain. When your estrogen levels plummet during cancer treatment, these tiny messengers actually become enlarged and hyperactive. They start sending out these massive panic signals. Basically, your body is acting like the internal temperature alarm keeps misfiring, telling your brain you're overheating when you're actually not, and cue the intense sweating and flushing. Now, for women going through natural menopause, doctors often prescribe hormone replacement therapy to just calm that alarm down. But if you are an HR-positive breast cancer survivor, hormonal therapy is generally considered unsafe. Adding those hormones back in could actually fuel the cancer. And that is exactly why we so desperately need a non-hormonal approach. We need something that blocks those hyperactive messengers directly, calming the brain's alarm without adding a single drop of estrogen back into your body. Basically, we need a targeted blocker. Enter Elinzanetant, a promising non-hormonal option. So, Elinzanetant is a brand new non-hormonal medication that targets those exact hyperactive brain receptors. But okay, wait, let's unpack this. What do the receipts actually show? The New England Journal of Medicine recently published a massive phase 3 trial called OASIS-4, and it was designed specifically for women just like you. So what does the hard clinical evidence actually show? Because as an empowered patient, you shouldn't just take the researcher's word for it, right? Let's look directly at the data together. Just look at this downward trend. The yellow line represents the women taking Elinzanetant, and the blue line is the placebo group. Notice that incredibly steep drop in both the frequency and severity of hot flashes by week 4. The brain's alarm bells were finally being silenced. Women taking this medication saw a massive, rapid drop in their symptoms compared to those just taking a sugar pill. But the truly crucial point here is the actual numbers. By week 12 of the trial, participants on Elinzanetant experienced an average of nearly 8 fewer moderate to severe hot flashes every single day. Just think about that for a second. Minus 7.8 episodes a day. If you're out there surviving 15 to 20 hot flashes a day, eliminating 8 of them, that doesn't just change your day. That literally changes your life. But let's be totally real for a second. Girl, this part matters. When I talk to survivors, it's rarely just the daytime sweating that breaks them. It's the sleep. It is waking up drenched at 2 a.m., having to completely change the sheets, and then just staring at the ceiling until your alarm goes off. So the ultimate million-dollar question is, does this medication actually help you sleep? Well, the data says yes. Women taking Elinzanetant didn't just flash less. They actually had significantly fewer sleep disturbances.
Their specific menopause quality of life scores improved dramatically. Over 70% of the women saw at least a 50% reduction in their symptoms by 12 weeks. They were finally actually resting. And honestly, this next statistic might be the most telling one of all. When the initial 52-week trial ended, the participants were given the option to continue taking the medication in a 2-year extension study. 91.6% of the women chose to keep taking it. You guys, you just do not see a continuation rate that high unless a medication is genuinely, noticeably improving someone's day-to-day life.
Safety, side effects, and honest nuance. Now, as much as it sounds wonderful, I will never sit here and tell you a medication is a magical, totally risk-free cure. Transparency is everything to us. Looking directly at the adverse events over the 52 weeks, about 70% of participants on Elinzanetant and 62% on the placebo reported at least one side effect. Now, most were mild or moderate. But this isn't about avoiding all side effects, right? It's about looking closely at what those side effects actually are and deciding if it's a trade-off you are personally willing to make. So the most common side effects reported were headache, fatigue, and somnolence, which is just the fancy medical term for sleepiness. Some women also reported mild diarrhea or nausea. So really, it comes down to a deeply personal choice. You have to weigh the potential for a headache or maybe feeling a bit sleepy against your current baseline. If you are already profoundly exhausted from having 15 hot flashes a night, you and your doctor have to decide which scenario offers you the better quality of life. Oh, and another absolutely crucial note, whenever we look at new medications, we always have to check on the liver. The study used an independent safety board, and over the 52 weeks, they found no substantive liver toxicity signal. So overall, it appears to be generally well-tolerated long-term. Reclaiming your quality of life. So what does all of this mean for you? It means science is finally catching up to your lived experience. If you are struggling right now, here are your next steps. First, please acknowledge that your exhaustion is completely valid. Do not feel weak for struggling with this. Second, at your next appointment, bring up the OASIS 4 trial data to your oncologist. Just say, hey, I heard about the new non-hormonal blockers for hot flashes. And third, have a really open discussion about whether this fits your specific health profile. I want to leave you with this thought today. For decades, the unspoken rule of cancer survivorship was that you just had to grit your teeth and bear the side effects. But should you have to suffer just to survive? Looking at this new data, what if the answer is finally no? You deserve to sleep. You deserve to feel comfortable in your own skin again. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Take this data, advocate for yourself, and I will see you next time.